Welcome to the top 4 of the European Championship. For most who don't know exactly what's going on, it's a 2,000 player tournament of Europe's most elite players. The winner of this game will go on to the final to attempt to be crowned the European champion. German national Juho On is playing a nifty strategy where he puts all his trap cards face down.
Fair point, yeah. I know that feeling.
Oh, look at that. He's just spreading his hand under the table. Classic sad fight by
Applause
Juho.
from the crowd.
And the
We
crowd
love it.
is loving it. They're celebrating the classic ultimate sad fight, but there's the ice.
No, and she shakes her hand! Jessica Robinson advances to the final with the Harpies Feather Duster 4-5!
Holy, what was that?
Wow!
I was saying Juho is about to turn the game around. Then he set 5 cards and the Harpies Feather Duster just break the entire field.
That is the most iconic way to enter the finals of the European Championship, let me tell you.
Card games are sometimes a lot like life. Life is not chess. The hardest or smartest worker isn't always the person who gets the job. Or, well, in card games, the greatest players don't always win their games.
Destroy a card in the deck, but yeah, he's cards in your. It's about to get locked out. He's monsters.
But we like it even best when all your efforts directly result in the win. So with this albeit 1 in 1,000 moment happening in the top 4 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! European Championship, Yu-Gi-Oh! Still has a bit of a reputation as being a very polarizing game. A game can last 13 seconds from the first action to the handshake, or we can have some of the greatest games ever.
There we have them drawing their opening hands and Vincenzo praying.
And then activate the Reinhardt in the graveyard.
Oh yes, he is going for it.
But
True.
there is still Mudora in the graveyard. Or body on board, and he will target the Mudora as well. He's just going to take all of the cards and shove them into the deck.
Only has halfness in hand, right?
And he passes
He
on the
passes
redoer.
on
Do you
just
want
the
to
redoer.
attach now? Joshua Schmidt is not even going to be...
Did he trigger Calbeck? And for a second I
I
thought he
don't
triggered
think
Calbeck,
so.
but I don't think he's going to do that either.
The rounded Bastille, right? Plays around the top deck Bastille.
Yep, absolutely.
Have to take... Oh, we are going for Kid Colors and go for it.
But, I mean, be aware that now that Rule Colors on board is the only interruption that he has left, because he already used the Salik, and he has a 3k defense body now.
Oh, and
but
he
there's
activates triple
talents.
tactic talents. That makes a lot of
Draw
sense.
to his strong
And he's
into
drawing
Pearl
Pearl Rhino.
He can keep on playing here, and there's only 2 minutes left on the clock, so he could keep on playing here for a while, to be honest.
Welcome to perhaps Yu-Gi-Oh's greatest format. Yu-Gi-Oh is a game that has hundreds of strategies and decks that you can build. If you like cute stuffed animals, well, sure, you can play the Five Nights at Freddy's deck. But Konami has printed a deck so powerful that the only thing that can consistently beat it is itself.
So Tier Limits is the best deck that has ever been printed in my eyes. It had very, very interactive gameplay. It rewarded the better player, and it was just a fun deck to play all around.
With Tier, what I really found myself enjoying was there was so much happening going on at once, so many interaction points, that the ability to try and outplay your opponents, there were so many different spots to try and do that.
90% of the room was like Tier. So yeah, technically in that sense it was oppressive, but the games, no matter what deck you were playing, you could play versus Tier. Every game felt different. No game felt the same.
Tier Limits took the crutches off in Yu-Gi-Oh! The ability to win a duel with a single card, basically null. The ability to brick, meaning you draw a hand of 5 useless cards in a single hand, also unrealistic.
Tier Limit was just a very consistent deck, even though people think that it wasn't. It really didn't rely on mills because you were going through most of your deck So you're bound to hit at least something to start your combo plays, even draw like Rhino Heart.
The crazy deck building at Yu-Gi-Oh! Champions. Yeah, well, all you needed to do was cram a lot of these guys into your deck, and I think it would work. And so, from this competitively speaking, amazing format sprouts one of Yu-Gi-Oh's greatest competitions, YCS Pasadena. Maybe you can understand why competitive players look back at this era with those rose-tinted goggles. No silly blowouts, none of that. Just straight Yu-Gi-Oh! The better player wins. So let's return back to YCS Pasadena and its grand final. First things first, to make it to an event of this caliber is just simply incredible. The difference between players is made in every single game. But when it comes down to this is the highest expression of skill a Yu-Gi-Oh! Format has seen since Dragon Rulers. First up is Hani Jawari. At age 16, Hani burst onto the scene with a top 4 at YCS Dallas, and has maintained a great reputation for making it deep into tournaments. He doesn't just end at top 64 and call it a day. He's in for the top 8s and the top 4s, but wins just seem to elude him. Attaining a joint win at Team YCS Lima in 2019, he still has yet to have a solo achievement. Across the table from Hani is someone who has guaranteed himself on Yu-Gi-Oh's Mount Rushmore, Jesse Cotton. Once again, also at age 16, he burst onto the scene with a few YCS tops of himself, and he hasn't slowed down since. At this moment, here in the finals of YCS Pasadena, he has 3 premier event wins and 30 combined event tops. This man was born to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And he's pursuing a degree on the side while doing it. 2 of Yu-Gi-Oh's greatest players facing off in its most skill-intensive tournament in the grand finals. Nearly 5,000 matches played up to this point, and the 2 most deserving players in the room are sitting in the final. Okay, but we talked about how great Tier Limits is. For those who don't know, let's give a quick recap of what Tier Limits actually does. Tier Limits is a mill strategy. The whole point is to send most of your deck to the graveyard to trigger numerous different effects.
You had these 3 tier limit cards that can special 3 times on a single turn, and you were able to do it consistently on both turns 3 times. Honestly, it was just Kikalos. Kikalos being able to search any tier limit card, so like your traps if you wanted to play for like a longer game, or you could search like any monsters if you needed any extenders, and the fact that you could put Kikalos back into your extra deck and reuse it every single turn, even on your opponent's turn.
There were these cards called Bestials, which could banish these Tier Limits monsters from the graveyard to stop their effects to fusion summon. Adding another dimension to this game were the Ishizu cards. Kelbeck and Agito, who both mill each player for 5 cards, and Keldo and Mudora, who both shuffle 3 cards from either graveyard back into the deck.
For Pasadena, a lot of people didn't really know what was correct and what was not correct. Like, do you mill your opponent blindly with the Shizu cards? Do you mill your tier opponent with the Shizu cards? When do you use your shufflers? When do you use your bestials? And when do you use your tier names? And all these different things kind of made it so that it was really not who drew the better hand. It was more so who made the first mistake.
If I'm playing the mirror match though, and I'm playing against another skilled opponent, they open up planets. That is probably the scariest card, because that card is incredibly hard to deal with. It makes it way harder to break through Dweller.
response. It's Herald of Orange Light pitching Agito, the Ancient Sentinel.
And
Oh!
Hani has his own Herald with discarding Divine.
And with that unbelievable sequence, Jesse packs it up. Game 1 was brutal. Look, we're playing a card game. We're not playing chess. And Hani just had too much interaction for Jesse's, well, atrocious mills. So you're wondering, where's Cotton's incredible comeback? Well, Game 2 stands to be a lot more anticlimactic.
And now Scream is going to activate in a new chain and hit all the tier limits.
Okay.
Like, actually all of them.
Didn't have good luck in that first game on his Mills. That makes up for it there in game number 2 for Jesse.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I mean, what did you expect? I said it was going to be anticlimactic, and by Jesse's opening hand, it felt like the game was kind of just won from the start. But we weren't really here for games 1 and games 2. They didn't really paint the full picture of what the tier limits format is really about. But game 3 is what makes this match go down in history. Let's go.
Because a lot of the time, in order to play properly and without risk of your combo just losing that one hand trap, you have to start milling your opponent, letting them play the game for sure. So you're not going to have as many of those shutout games where you just kind of full combo uninterrupted and a win.
Jesse has the ability to mill 10 right here and now. And despite how cool it sounds to mill yourself for 10 cards, it's Hani's turn. He has the ability to activate spells, XYZ summon, normal summon, and everything you can do on a turn of Yu-Gi-Oh! While Jesse has to operate from his card effects alone. But Jesse doesn't hesitate. It's fire all, and both players are going to mill 10 cards. We're jumping into the deep end of the last match of nearly 5,000 total matches played across the tournament. Jesse tries to chain his Druis Worm to banish the Happiness that is attempting to fusion summon, and is instantly met with a Herald of the Orange Light. So the chain resolves, and both players mill 10 cards. So first, Kalos is going to add or send a tier limits monster from the deck to the graveyard. Number 2 is Sharon in the graveyard to fusion summon from Hani's side. Agito is going to mill another 5 cards for both players, so we're going to go ahead and mill 20 cards total for both players, and now it's Jesse's chance to activate his effect. And something absolutely critical happened during this mill 10. Hani didn't mill a single shuffler. He needed that Keldo, the Sacred Protector, in his graveyard. So Jesse Cotton is going to have the chance to resolve all of his tier limits effects on his opponent's first turn. So Jesse activates both of his tier limit names in the graveyard and then uses his Keldo to put back Hani Sharon into the deck so it cannot finish its fusion summon. And so, the chain resolves. Jesse gets to fusion summon both Kaleido Heart and Mud Dragon of the Swamp.
Like, one of the ways you won the mirror match was by summoning Mud Dragon in your opponent's turns, so they couldn't target their Kid Kalos and they can't remove your Mud Dragon, and your Mud Dragon's half a Dweller.
Two extremely resilient cards that are likely to make it to the next turn of play for Jesse to operate with. Hani, despite it being his first turn, looks like he's already gasping to get back into the game. As with his Kit Kalos, he sends Rhinoheart to the graveyard, hoping to get one more fusion summon started and potentially threaten a big synchro play with the level 6 tuner of Diviner and a potential level 4 monster like Rhinoheart. Jesse Cotton is also able to use his newly summoned Kaleido Heart to shuffle Hani's Kit Kalos back into the extra deck and garners another search for a monster. Going second, the Gambit to mill 10 paid off for Jesse, and he's in control. Hani gets his Rhinoheart to the field to send the last tier limit's name to the graveyard he hasn't used, Merle, to try and garner one last fusion summon. But he only has 2 cards in his hand to back this up, facing a full board from Jesse, still with 5 cards in hand. And he uses Merle to make a measly Mud Dragon? I guess 2 level 4s can make that Abyss Dweller we've been talking about, but Abyss Dweller alone is not going to win this game. However, Hani has 1 more card in his hand to make this game a whole lot more complicated.
It may look like Honey's trying to break the board, but that is not the case. Looks like he's going to detach the Rhinoheart for Abyss Dweller to use this effect right now.
Triple tactic Stalin.
He's going to take the Mud Dragon, synchro with Diviner the Herald, a level 6 monster for Baron DeFleur. He's going to use Baron's effect to destroy Kaleido Heart.
And now he's warp speed, now that he knows that all the stuff's going to work.
He's back from the dead. Hani has Abyss Dweller and Baron DeFleur to try and slow down the game. But let's not forget, Jesse is walking into Hani's turn with 6 cards in his hand to Hani's singular Havinus. This game still has a lot more to give.
Combo here for Hani, using his Dweller again. Set the Solic. Jesse has a Sorin here. He's not done yet.
Jesse has almost survived the onslaught. He needs to make it through 1 more turn of Dweller, and Hani is nearly on 0 cards. Jesse has almost won this game without his graveyard. Just 1 more turn.
We know Jesse has the Beasteel that he can try and summon right now. Normal summon merrily. Does he use the effect to mill 3 here?
1, 2, and 3, and hits a bunch of names.
It looks like here comes the Saronir. He's probably just trying to put some monsters on the board. Goes to battle phase, attacks over Rhinoheart.
He's going to activate Celiac here.
Now Jesse can
And
use
Jesse
his
can
Crime.
finally use his Crime, which has been there for who knows how long.
And
the whole
discard
game.
Keldo.
So these two are becoming Dark, the Dark Charmer. Oh, but his last card is Magnemite!
That's exactly what he needed. It's a monster on the board. It's going to give him another monster. All he needs is damage right now. What a top deck.
Man.
What a top deck. Doesn't use the Keldo. Oh, he shuffled it back with his own. Okay, yeah, I don't think he had one.
He pitched it with the Crime, right?
Oh, yeah, he did have it.
Tribute summon, send it, talk to me.
That's it. Tribute summon, Druid's Worm, effects it, and mine defeats gets the top and White gets Pasadena champion.
Unreal. Honey can't even believe it.
He's going into the crowd. Everyone's so excited for their friend Honey.
But this was not, of course, the end of tier limits. As the format raged on, a tournament-wide trend truly began to develop.
If you look at the span of whenever the Bisteels came out, starting from YCS Minneapolis to the last event was actually the 3v3 in Mexico City. Every single person that won an event in that format was playing tier, and also it was like well-known players. The most variance you would see is like one rogue deck or like one person that wasn't a I know of them player in top 4.
But all good, or depending who you are, bad things must come to an end. And in February of 2023, the ban list dropped.
Speaking of, they banned Kid Kalos.
Kid Kalos finally got banned.
What's happened, baby? What's happened? Don't come back. Agito the Ancient. Oh my god, they limited all the Ishizus!
All right. Halfness, Merly, and Sharon. That's nuts. Okay. Yeah, nice tier deck, I guess.
So with tier limits nerfed into the ground and its sworn enemy in Kashtira, the literal anti-graveyard deck, being the dominant deck of the format, tier limits had to sit on the back burner. It would only show up in a few rogue feature matches here and there, but nothing close to its former glory. However, in September of 2023, tier limits players around the world woke up to a Christmas miracle.
Okay, first and foremost, Forbidden Arise Heart. That's it. That's the whole Forbidden list.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Kashtira Arise Heart has been banned.
Tier limits was back, baby. And it just took the most recent YCS in Dortmund by storm.
But now, in a world that you don't get shifted, suddenly, you have so many insta wins when you go first, and you win your games going second with Engine. And I think it was the best deck for Oracle.
So, in a bit of a happier ending here for tier limits, we are so back. I wanted to wrap this video with one last takeaway. Something to, take home at the end of this. Tier limits format also opened my eyes and other people's eyes to the skill depth that this game really has. The difference between what it is a top player and a just above average player. I had a friend, he has a couple regional tops here and there, and he played against Asala Watanabe in an OTS championship. And after that match, he remarked, "I feel like I played perfectly, but somehow I lost." And that is the difference between a top level player and the rest of us. We as humans love our unique environments, and we also like being rewarded for being good at something, for putting in effort and having that effort come back right to you. And it's strange that we turn to card games to fulfill this desire. But tier format almost remedied that weakness. There was hardly any variance, and it was truly a game of skill. There is skill expression in Yu-Gi-Oh! And there's also skill expression in life, if you look hard enough. Thanks for watching. Before I shout out everyone, I want to quickly announce that I am making a Patreon. So go ahead and help a guy out. This video took a long time to make, a lot of assets, a lot of mental struggles. I don't like editing software. So if these videos to be a bit more sustainable for myself, help support the channel and help me out on Patreon. Oh, it's over. It's over. It's over. I have to shout some people out. Shout outs to, we have Cody Angeloff, Nikki Goldman, The Goat, Jesse Cotton, and Gabriel Nets for providing their input on tier limits and whatever the tier limits deck even is. We have all the YouTubers whose content I stole from and decided to implement in my video. And last but not least, Konami North America for their tournament footage. I basically made half my video out of your guys' tournament footage. So, hopefully I get to be on your broadcast today. I don't know. On that note, peace.